Being naive can cost you your life, but today we're taking the blindfolds off.
Today, I'm going to be sharing my story with you guys about how I went from being a single mom to a spoiled housewife in less than 1 year. And you can too.
Predatory people are everywhere. I'm sure everybody by now has seen the viral video by the trophy wife where she alleges abusive behavior from her husband towards her and also towards their children. Now, I came across another video of hers entitled Single Mum to Spoiled Housewife in Less Than a Year. I started to see some of the warning signs that you should be aware of if you want to protect yourself from predatory people. By the way, I'm Mary. At one point in my life, I was very naive, but now that I've learned some of the warning signs to look out for, I'm going to share those with you. And do watch to the end of the video, as the most important warning signs that you need to know are towards the end.
I had my first child when I was 17 years old. I intentionally got pregnant with my boyfriend at the time and basically turned into a child raising a child.
Being a child raising a child means that you didn't get to complete all of your childhood. It means that you had to lose some of your childhood experiences or your young person experiences, stop developing in that way, and then start looking after another human being. This leaves you vulnerable because some of the skills that you would have gained or some of the knowledge that you would have gained in young adulthood about keeping yourself safe or actually reflecting on some of your childhood experiences and being able to distinguish good from bad and safe from unsafe, you end up not having those when you should have them.
Being a single mom, I think that my self-esteem was definitely low. I didn't know that at the time, but if I think back about the kind of men that I was choosing, it definitely was a reflection of my lower self-esteem.
At no point did she say that she tried to seek therapy, that she tried to work on her self-esteem with a professional. I'm well aware that not everybody can afford a professional. It definitely helps if you can have some other older figures around you to help to guide you through life. But from what I'm understanding of her story, she didn't have that kind of guidance around.
I think that growing up, I was not taught the kind of men that I should be looking to attract and be in a relationship with. My mom drilled into me, oh, go with the man that's going to be the best breeder.
So does that mean the man that can have the most children?
I think society drilled into me to go after the thug, the street dude, the swag type dude.
Being taught the wrong type of man to pursue. I touched on this in my last point about not having good role models around, that she said her mother was telling her to go with the best breeder. What does that even mean? So again, a lack of guidance on choosing men, on vetting men. I'm also going to add here very, very simplistic advice that doesn't talk about the character of a man. It just talks about the type of a man. So for example, I was always taught the best men are in church. But as we all know, she was taught that she should go for the best breeder or she should go for the thug based on stereotypes or caricatures. I'm assuming black men, right? Black men are breeders, black men are thugs. These are the types of men that she's describing, or you have the very righteous man like I was taught. But either way, none of that really directs you towards how do I look for a man of good character? How do I look for a person that's safe? So a lack of practical guidance.
I was working hard. I was making really good money. I think I was making about maybe $90K at the time, which for me as a 24-year-old woman was good. I thought I was doing good. I had my own place. I owned my car. I was very self-sufficient. All about the mindset of, oh, I can do it by myself. I don't need a man, as so many of us modern women say.
There's nothing wrong with earning money and being in that space of having your own. It absolutely makes you stand on your own 2 feet and not have to gravitate towards dangerous situations because you desperately need help. You can accept help if you need it, but you don't have to grab onto it with desperation because you actually have your own. So what she's describing is going into a very extreme mode of, I'm making money, I'm making my own. and I don't need anybody, which is in contrast to what she's about to say next.
I soon realized after one Christmas of it just being me and my two boys that I wanted a family. I wanted more for myself. It felt so lonely and it was sad. It was really sad. And it was, I'd say, one of the lowest points in my life.
Human emotions are fine. Nothing wrong with being lonely at times, nothing wrong with being sad. But when you are lonely and sad and you happen to not have that kind of guidance around you, it can be a dangerous place to be in. You can make some decisions when you're lonely and sad that are really, really bad for you because you're acting out of those emotions as opposed to handling those emotions and then going out into the world with a very level-headed way of thinking about things.
And after that was when I decided that I was going to change the kind of men I was dating and what I was attracting. I think I also had a skewed version of what a high value man was at the time as well. I thought that a good mate or the man to go after was the one with the super nice car and a stack of money and the jewels and the chains on with the swag. I happened to come across Shira7 on YouTube and she completely changed my life. And she basically taught me what a high value man is and what to look for when trying to find a husband.
These are all very external status symbol type things. What I'm going to mark as a red flag here is not about whether a man is high value or not in terms of financial means, but it's just exchanging one type of dude for another type of dude, but yet not realizing that you may actually get exactly the same dude just with different clothes. This guy over here with the swag and the chains and the car, he's got his external markers of success and wealth. You don't know what he did to get it though, but still, as she mentioned, and this is true. On the other hand, you have a man that may wear certain brand names, certain type of suits, goes to certain types of establishments for his leisure time. But just because you exchanged the street dude, the thug, for the guy that dresses nicely and has a certain lifestyle, that doesn't necessarily mean that you chose a better man. It says nothing about his character or the type of man that he is. It's just the fact that the external markers of wealth are different for these two types of men.
My husband and I have a 20-year age gap.
I don't automatically think that age gap relationships are bad, but I do think it does depend on the age of the youngest person in the relationship. And not just their age, but their life experiences and their level of self-awareness and self-reflection on their life experiences. From what she's describing, she didn't seem to have many good role models around her in her life to kind of guide her as to what a person of good character is or what she should be looking for. And when that happens and you end up in an age gap relationship, if you're not careful, or if you haven't really had that self-awareness or that experience or some therapy or some time to really reflect on who you are and actually build that level of maturity, it can be very easy for that person to control and manipulate you.
And he was not the first older man that I dated. A lot of people have told me that I'm very mature for my age.
I have an issue with the term very mature for your age. It's usually said by people who had to take on a lot of adult responsibilities at a young age. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that phrase when they've had a very healthy home life, had appropriate space and time to grow into their adulthood without a ton of traumatic experiences or a ton of extra responsibility on their shoulders. I'm just saying, it's just a correlation for me. If you disagree with me or agree with me, tell me in the comments below.
When I met my husband, I knew right away almost, and people say that, but it was definitely true. I know it sounds cliche. Just from our first date, it just felt natural. I felt like I just had known this person already. It was so comfortable.
From my personal experience and from literature that I've read too, oftentimes if you have been through any kind of trauma, a lot of the times when you meet someone who's really bad for you, it feels very natural. And I mentioned childhood trauma here because she mentions in another video that she unfortunately has been subject to some childhood trauma. It often feels like you've known them for a really long time, or you feel a massive amount of butterflies with them and like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing, this is so fantastic. A lot of the time it's because the way that they make you feel is very familiar to what you felt growing up in your childhood.
We had a great first date, and I think he ended up asking me to be his girlfriend on the first date. And
whoa, okay, red flag, red flag, red flag. This man asked you to be his girlfriend on the very first date. There's always the fairy tale stories where people get married like within a couple of days and then they've been together for 40 years and they're happy and they're still in love. And that happens. I'm never going to knock it and say that doesn't happen. But in the vast majority of cases, that's a very, very, very bad idea. This is the man's first time meeting you. He doesn't really know anything about you, about your family. And the thing is, I know that there's always the phrase around says when a man knows, he knows. It's true, he does. But you just need to slow down. Usually the first date is when everybody shows the best of who they are. You meet their representative. That's moving too fast.
And I said I would think about it. We both were, we were talking, but then for some reason we kind of stopped talking for a little while. And we both were dating other people and doing our own thing. And
if this man was so sure that he wanted you to be his girlfriend on the first date, then how did you end up just not talking and then dating other people? Like, usually if somebody really wants you that badly, they're usually consistently pursuing you. Not just like you say you think about it and then things just kind of drop off.
Then I had gotten into serious relationship with somebody and I ended up falling for the girlfriend trap, but that guy had really been investing a lot into me and doing a lot for me, so I kind of felt like I had to agree to be his girlfriend because he asked me multiple times and I finally agreed. So
this other relationship where she ended up feeling obligated to be his girlfriend because he was investing a lot into her. Doesn't sound like she really wanted to, but because that person was investing a lot, she kind of went into that as a girlfriend. That's never a good idea. It's never a good idea to do things out of feeling obligated.
Me and him ended up breaking up because he just didn't really vibe with my oldest son, who was 5 at the time. I could tell that he was really just putting up with my kids. He didn't really embrace them. Sometimes, we as mothers can tell like someone's just being nice to our kids for the purpose of being with you and they're not necessarily invested in your kids themselves. And that's what I felt like from him.
And then realizing that this person was just tolerating your children. I'm never gonna knock a woman for realizing that someone is not treating their children well or that the vibe isn't right between your child and that person. Absolutely not. But like, where was the in-between stage? How did you not pick up earlier that this person wasn't vibing with your child? The process of introducing children to a new person should be a gradual one, and it should be first of all that the person gets to know you, and then when you think that that person is good enough and safe enough, then you slowly introduce them to your child and then you watch the interaction that they have. How must that experience have been for that child? That makes me sad.
We were living together. We were living together and I just like packed all my stuff and left.
Because you went from being this person's girlfriend to moving in with your children.
The next day, my now husband, reached out to me and was like, hey, how are you doing? And I told him, I just got out of a relationship, and I kind of told him a little bit about why. He was telling me like, oh, those are my boys. And
he said to her, oh, those are my boys. How on earth is this man now telling you those are my boys? A, when did he meet them? And B, how quickly did he really get to know them that he's now calling them his boys? Something's off.
And he had genuinely really connected with my kids, and he was not the kind of man that was just being nice to them to get to me. Like, it was very genuine.
You haven't seen this person in how long? They gave you a call and said, hi, how are you? And now they're talking about how these are his boys. Wait, how can he embrace them when he hardly even knows them?
My lease was going to be ending very soon, which is why I went ahead and moved in with my person that had became my ex.
This is not about judgment, but I'm going to be honest. I'm seeing a series of bad decisions here. And these are not safe decisions for you or for your children. Sis, where is your lease? Where is your house? Your lease is ending, so now you're going to move in with somebody else. With your children.
We started living together, and I told my husband, I was like, hey, it was so embarrassing to admit, but I was like, I need a place to stay.
And now you're telling this new man that you now need somewhere to stay, even if it's for a couple of weeks. That's a really dangerous thing to do. You don't know this person.
Because my lease is ending, and I just broke up with my boyfriend, and maybe even if it's just like for a couple weeks, you know, it's okay. Just while I look for, you know, somewhere else, because I hadn't planned on needing to find somewhere else.
You're putting your children in a vulnerable position because you're allowing circumstances to dictate where you're gonna go and live with your children. And this is what's bothering me too, like the lack of planning. It's one thing to not plan for yourself, that's one thing, but plan for your children. At least plan for the stability of your children. Being in a vulnerable position and then needing someone to step in and save you is very dangerous. And predatory people always take advantage of that.
He was saying, well, if you're going to live with me, it's going to be as my wife, not as my girlfriend.
This man knows that you want to get married, and he's dangling it in front of you like a carrot. And you're thinking, wow, he's coming to save me. Wanting to do these things where you throw caution to the wind and you don't think carefully about the circumstances that you're going to put yourself in or your children in. Why would somebody wait until you're in desperate circumstances to propose marriage right there and then? He could have easily proposed to you when you were on your feet and in a good stable position and able to make a level-headed decision. It's when your lease is ending and he knows you need somewhere to stay, that's when he's proposing marriage to you. That's manipulative.
I, you know, didn't want to get my hopes up, so I just said that, you know, he's saying all these things, but I'm going to see what action that he takes. And so I had just got paid, and I was like, okay, it seems like we're really talking about seriously entertaining the idea of getting married. So I'm going to go and get the wedding ring.
But then you decide to take matters into your own hands and go and buy a wedding ring. So you're now jumping the gun. She got excited and she fast-tracked the process. The whole like fast tracking to marriage thing it's a red flag on both sides. It's a warning sign from her because this is happening in the middle of like moving houses and all of this kind of stuff. Like there's a lot going on at this moment in time. But also from his side, what kind of discernment is he using to think that you are going to be his wife in such a short space of time? What is this man's thought process? What is he thinking about? Why he's so willing to fast track this process?
And I was like, if I don't get the ring now, then I'm not going to get it. So I went ahead and got it. And that put the fire under him to, I guess, really go and look for my ring.
If somebody really wants to marry you, do they need you to go and buy a ring to light a fire under them? It just feels very rushed. Let him prove to her that he was a man of his word and that he was actually going to get a ring and marry her. It gives them an opportunity to show you that they really mean what they say. If you're always jumping in, how would you ever know that that person is a person of their word or a person of character?
I think it was like the next day somebody told me to go online and check my eHarmony profile. So I went on there and I saw that he had updated his picture, and I screenshotted it and sent him a picture, and I said, it doesn't seem like we're on the same page, so yeah, I'm done with this. And he texted me, he was like, or I think he tried to call me and I didn't answer. And he texted me and he was like, no, I'm serious, I am going to marry you, in caps. And I think that evening he like ended up going and buying my ring. When he showed it to me, in my head, I said, it's not about the ring, it's about the marriage.
The question is more, who are you marrying? It's not just about the ring or the marriage. It's, is this person worth marrying? What type of man have you just agreed to marry?
If a man is going to propose to you, don't make it about the ring, because that can really turn a man off and make him think that that's all that you care about is having a big ring, when it's more important to have the marriage.
But is your main focus about not turning off the man? Or is your main focus about assessing the character of the man that you're with? Is the focus on wanting to make sure that he feels a certain way or that he feels okay, as opposed to you stepping back and thinking and assessing the situation and the person?
So we ended up getting married the next week.
And at no point has she discussed how her children are going to fit into this. You're blending two lives together. You have to discuss like finances, your work, who's going to work, who stays home, gender roles, your families, how these are all going to fit together. How is this going to work? This is all very, very rushed. Making a lifelong decision, as it were, on a whim.
Becoming his wife and really being the kind of woman that could just get a ring like that took work.
It was about proving her worth and her value as a woman. This is the kind of woman that gets a ring like this. This is the kind of woman that gets this. This is the kind of woman that gets that. But it's very much about being that kind of woman. At no point has she assessed what kind of man is this beyond his material goods. It is unfortunate, but it looks like she really, really wanted someone to see some kind of worth and value within her, and placing that feeling of worth and value in another person is always detrimental both to you, your children, and it leaves a space for someone who comes in and says all the right things and affirms you in the way that you want to be affirmed. It can leave you really vulnerable to people who want to prey on you.
How I went from being a single mom to a spoiled housewife in less than 1 year. And you can too.
The story that she told is the story of how she got married within a short space of time to someone that she hardly knew, and moved her children into the house of a man who did not seem to be displaying very good judgment, who called her children his children very, very early. And this is a type of love bombing, when somebody just really throws all of like the emotions, all of the love, all of the things that you want to hear, they're all coming at you at the same time. People who are predatory like this have no problems marrying you if they're able to get you in a very vulnerable position. If you found any value in this video, then here's another video that you might find interesting of mine. Do comment below and let me know your thoughts. Take care. Bye.